right. Again, I'm Chantel Johnson. I'm your Vineyard Lounge host. I'm just so excited to have you all here. And what a powerful and visually stunning piece of storytelling, Mara. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. Yes, give it up, give it up, give it up. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you all for joining us for this encore presentation of Forever. Now we have the pleasure of going even deeper into the heart of this work. Please join me, stand up. Check, check. Please join me in welcoming the brilliant director and creative force behind Forever. Mara, come on up. And guiding today's conversation is the sharp and insightful Brooke Marin, Deputy Culture Editor at The Cut. That's Brooke. All right. Let's dive in, y'all. Hi.
That is so honored. That is so
We're sitting right next to each other.
That is so honored. Thank you. First of all, I know you're supposed to be leaving, but I just want to say this. This is blowing my heart wide open. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be in this moment, and I just wanted to be able to make sure I say that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for each and every one of you guys showing up. Hi, Mara. Thank you. I mean, this is maybe like my third or fourth time watching that episode. And I think you can tell by all of the reactions, it's like even better watching it with a group of people. And you know, I feel like one thing that you did with this episode, you really communicate like a sense of freedom. And so I was wondering what you were feeling just right now, watching it back with the rest of the crowd. I knew in the editing room that I had nailed what was in my heart. And I really couldn't wait for this community to see it. But to experience it with them, and we had a screening a few nights ago too, I'm near tears every moment. Because though I'm a part of the community, I have been watching and studying and absorbing and loving and trying to like literally pull the community into my pen, and then to be able to also deliver it back through my eye. The freedom to do that is love, if that makes sense. If you follow Mara on Instagram, you know she's always writing. Always writing. And I remember the last time I talked to you, you were talking about writing. So what was it that made you want to write this episode in the first place? Where were you? When was it? At what point in the process of creating the series did you know that you were going to include an episode on Martha's Vineyard?
Oh, from the beginning. When I was sort of architecting the love story, you have to decide when and where they're going to make love. And I remember growing up as a teenager, maybe even preteen, can't remember exactly when the film came out, but I remember there was a film out called Blue Lagoon, and it was everything to our generation about young love and owning the idea that we want to have healthy sex relationships, right? But again, you know, you're inundated with whiteness around that subject. It's never really us. And so I knew that I wanted Martha's Vineyard, which is the most loving, safe place I have known in my life. Outside of Ladera Heights, Baldwin Hills, Inglewood, where I grew up, but a place where we actually relaxed and restored and felt love. I knew there was no other place I wanted this young couple to make love, I wanted Martha's Vineyard to be their Blue Lagoon. And that's it.
I think one of the first funny moments of the episode is when Keisha gets here and realizes that Chloe has not taken her to the part of Martha's Vineyard that she's heard so much about. But Justin's in flip flops with his family, so I was wondering why did you feel it was important to sort of include that distinction and make that clear about this part of the island, specifically being the Black part of the island? Why did you want to do that?
That's why I like talking to Brooke. She asked. So it allows me to share that from the beginning, I knew this was going to be an epic and intimate love story within a love letter to Los Angeles, but also within a love letter to Black culture. And so what's important, if you look at the way the show, the entire series is, you often see Justin and Keisha in the world. It was really important, and I want to shout out my partners, Netflix, because I needed a budget that would allow me to shoot these children in the world. By shooting them in the world, it sends a subliminal message that they belong to the world. That's what you're doing in filmmaking, and that they belong to the world, thus they belong to us. And in the world, I needed to give you a scope and a context, and the epic nature of the Vineyard is that this is the whole island. Where do we sit within this entire island, and why? Our history and our traditions. But there's a whole other side of this island, and this is not a very big island, that is worlds apart sometimes from our experience here in a bus or where we gather. And I wanted to show that. I wanted to drop them in the world. And then also, in the epic nature, how do we travel here? Justin can get here by the means of his family and the traditions of his family. And I have seeds in this about how I believe this family got to this island. And a lot has to do with Uncle Charlie, Auntie Janine, anchored in with Dawn. And I believe that's how they got to this island. But how could Keisha get to this island and be effortless? Well, she's resourced in other ways, and she's resourced by relationship. So her relationship with Chloe and even Nantucket, if you go back to the pilot, when Justin walks through Chloe's house, there is evidence of Nantucket in her house. That was just to show you that we thought about this well beyond, and that it was very organic in private white institutions, that these sort of opportunities happen where, Dawn sees it one way, little black girl, white girl suitcase, or are they really friends? And because of her relationship, she was able to get there, and these kids being resourced. That's the fun thing. There's several moments where, the kids are doing things right underneath the adults. That was apparent throughout the series, but it was fun to do in this series and to see how these young women with ingenuity and means could go get what they want.
I want to talk a little bit about the house that they're staying in, because it's so fabulous. How did you find this house, and why was it important for you to show a home that's that large and has a big pool and can be a gathering place for more than one family together?
Well, my body of work, if you look at it, is I tell the truth through fiction. A lot of us are in houses that big. Some of us are not, but we are in those houses that big. And a lot was beautiful about our connection here. Sometimes we vacation together. 2 families, 3 families may take over a house. And so that was that. It was to celebrate that idea as well. And then we bring our means together. It's how our children bond. It's how it makes the experience even that much more fun. And I also, it was very important to me for us to constantly be seen in various environments, inclusive of that level of luxury. I know personally how much over the last 14 years I have spent just for not only the joy of the community, but to have that level of luxury and fun and feel, and feel a part of this, have this ultimate experience, right? And so that was important. The house, I will say, not to always talk about how the sausage is made, but I vacillated between two properties. And how did I find it? You find it like you have to find it. We have to find it. You go through your resources. We went to a realtor, my producer. We find the realtor. I give them the direction. That's not it. That's not it. Okay, we'll go check those out. I go through the same process here that I would do making any film, but or television series. But yes, it was just important that the magic of filmmaking sometimes is there was another house that had all of our needs, and it fell out at the last minute. And I debated about shooting that size of a house. There's another really lovely house, but the size was different. And in my making, in my process, I always invite God into the process. So when things that felt frustrating, when they told me the first house that I was very attached to, and they were afraid to tell me that I lost the house, like literally a week before we would land and start shooting. Everybody was panicking a bit, and part of me was too, because all of my shots, all the things I planned to do I had to let them go. And I said, okay, God, you want something different. And then my production designer, shout out to Suzuki, who always wanted to shoot at this house. She said, well, Mara, here's a plan. And we were able to put together the other puzzle pieces that we lost out of that location. And so the magic of those tents, the barn where they made love, all of those things were last minute decisions that only made the epicness of this even better. We actually gained that private beach where Shannon and Justin got to. God had better for me. I'm getting chills, sorry. And I said, okay, it's not fun to do it with a week to go, but we did it. And we did it together. I have an amazing, just a shout out for the entire cast and crew of Forever. I sit here alone, but not alone, because everybody's heart and talent and expertise and panic and creative ideas at the last minute are on that screen.
Well, I think you can get a real sense of family and just that you all actually liked spending time together watching this episode specifically. Especially looking at that scene where Karen who plays Dawn is like really having fun. Just so not like that. Yeah, she's not like that in the whole series, but in this scene, she's letting herself have the freedom. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about specifically orchestrating that scene and how much we are able to set.
Oh my gosh. One of the joys of filmmaking too is being able to bring your cast and crew to a different location. So some of the cast members and crew had never been to the Vineyard. They heard about it, and it was fun through the storytelling of those who have been to try to recreate that for them. And that joy is there too. But recreating that scene in it, because I kind of lived it before, it was kind of fun to recreate it and show everybody, what the vibe is. Because it was funny because, the kids are running around in the yard. And they were like, well, Mara, I was like, well, that's why they're over here on the screen porch. So it was a really fun part to sort of recreate what I have seen and also experienced here on the island. So we just let loose. And as you can see, it's in you, but I want to speak to the talent of those actors. Yes, it looks like we're having fun, but that they're having fun through really executing the characters. You know what I'm saying? They were in, we had fun on being on island, but they were in real time work right there. And we had to that was a lot of work on that day. We had to shoot. So as much as it was fun, we were just in character and getting it done. And I think the joy of being known that we were landing the performance I think the fun was in between the scenes on the days that we had off and the further bonding that we would have. I think the joy was also that we were just excited to be able to tell the story. And I think when you're making it, we knew we were nailing it. We knew we were doing something, and just sort of carry that through the episode.
Some of the other locations out in the world that I think are really fun to see is like Circuit Ave, and just their lighting and all of the, sort of childish behavior that can happen in a space like that. I wonder if you could speak a little bit, some of your favorite places to go from Martha's Vineyard when you're here.
For me personally, or for what we did for the
For you personally.
Oh my goodness! Of course, you love Circuit Avenue. I mean, I think one of my favorite things was, as a mother, I love being on Circuit Avenue. It makes me think about my children and my friends' children and how the women gather in order to get those kids back and forth to Circuit Avenue all damn day. And Circuit Avenue, those courts, Fat Ronnie, the arcade. It's funny being an arcade in 2024. I've seen the arcade when the machines were one way, and I feel like, oh, all our money is in that arcade because it has developed and gotten more beautiful. But I will always love Circuit Avenue for how much Circuit Avenue gave my children freedom and their humanity back, and me as a mother back. I will always love Circuit Avenue. And all the greater parts of it. So I just want to shout out the island too for allowing us to shoot on this island. So that's a special place for me. My favorite grocery store in the world is Morning Glory. I love Morning Glory. That is my favorite. I love Vineyard Haven now. I think it's cute, real poppin' over there. Of course, shout out to Harvey and Lennox. Is like, I love being there. I love being there. I was just there this morning. I love behind the bookstore for my matcha. It's hard to find matcha on this island. I love matcha. To know I should have Mara matcha line. And so I love behind the bookstore. I love bike riding on the bike paths. And my favorite beach is Lambert's Cove. Though I love a good State Beach, moment, an Inkwell moment, and a South Beach moment. Did I cover it all? I think I did. Oh, I love a 7-8 breakfast sandwich. I know that's I love North Tips Ferry. Okay, I can go on.
Do you remember your
That's this island.
Do you remember your first time here and what you did?
Yes. Okay, this is a fun fact. I didn't know about Martha's Vineyard. My first time on the vineyard was in July. Back in 1996, Reasonable Doubt had just dropped, and every car around this island was playing, and I had never seen that many black piers on South Beach in my life, and it blew me away. I thought I was in a dream to see so many young black people on the island. There was a lot going on that week. I'm not gonna say that, leave that there. But that was my first time, and I want to shout out, you guys hear me mention this man a lot, but I want to shout out both Melba Farquhar and Ralph Farquhar. I got to this island because I sat in the writer's room with Moesha and listened to how much this man loved this place. And it felt mythical to me. And I went that particular time. And not only did Ralph teach me how to make television, Melba taught me how to live and think about my life in the most beautiful, full way. So I could called, and finally it's like, I feel like I've been chasing Melba in a lot of ways. And Melba used to come here for the whole summer, and that's how I learned about the island.
Well, I want to just say congratulations, because Forever was picked up for a second season. And I know you already know I'm going to ask. You probably can't say anything, but is there a world in which you might return to Martha's Vineyard, bring these characters back one more time? in the second season, if you could?
Well, I don't know that I'm going to answer the second season part, but when you asked me, is there a world in which Justin and Keisha return to Martha's Vineyard? Absolutely. I don't think you can make love here, fall in love, reconnect here, and not Martha's Vineyard not be a core memory in their relationship. When that would pace itself out, I'm not sure. I always keep it there. But the reason why I'm a little coy, I guess, about season 2 is, and gives me an opportunity to share this. We're in an interesting time. My ideas are my currency. And, we're in a time where and I want to shout out Stephanie and Floyd to making room for filmmakers and storytellers made by human beings. It's human touch and endeavor at a time when I think the world is trying to scare us about AI. I'm not afraid of AI, but what I do think we have to start doing is valuing the stories that really matter and the storytellers and supporting the storytellers that move us to laughter and tears and joy and even sorrow, and helping us examine our sorrow. I only know, and so now I think it's during this last, 20 years, we've been sharing everything. And that's actually good, right? We've moved through the age of information, and now we don't know what's real or what's fake. So now I think it's really time for craftsmanship. And part of our journey between storyteller and audience is I need the support, and part of the support is the patience and showing up for whatever. I don't need to tease you. If you trust me or trust others, show up for the short storyteller. Let them surprise you and delight you. Let them lay out a spread for you. Not always need to know what's on the menu other than I trust the cook.
I think there's time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions from the audience, if anyone has a question.
Here we go, then Mike.
Hi, I'm Kiko Davis Snoddy, and I am currently the only African American woman that owns majority of a bank in the United States. I, along with my husband, he owns an intellectual property company and an automotive supplier in the manufacturing space. We came together and we decided right now it seems that our voices in our community are being suppressed, our stories are being withheld, and what you mentioned, your currency is ideals, our currency is actual currency. So we want to know what can we do to ensure that we are supporting with our currency to creatives like yourself who would love to work with you to make sure that you can continue to inspire, empower, and just embolden our community to share their voices and their stories. So what can we do? And others like us, I'm actually here with my cousin Joy Salter. I own the bank. She's a wealth manager. She has a lot of high net worth individuals that she is assaulting, and they also, like us, want to do what we can to support our community and our voices being heard.
To know me is to know that I am a very spirit-driven person, and one of the fun things I love to do is see my angel signs. I've been seeing 444 I've been seeing it everywhere. And this almost overwhelms me, but I'm not going to act like this hasn't been delivered. I've been praying for support for a foundation that I've been personally underwriting that I cannot do anymore. I built something beautiful and special, but I built it because we don't have a bench. We are losing our ability to be great storytellers. I mentioned Ralph, right? Ralph taught me how to make because I made by him open. He literally I was on set, I was in the casting room, I was in editing. I got to learn my craft by doing my craft. That model has been broken with tech coming into our industry, and it has left our young filmmakers, storytellers out of the process to understand how to craft now that we are competing globally. Let me pause for a second. This is very important. First of all, if you look at the landscape of television, part of my entry in the 90s was because it was the expansion of the netlets. At that time, they were called UPN and WB and Fox at that time. Then we quickly went to cable, if you think about that. They were looking for storytellers, makers who can make on a budget, and they relied on Black storytelling. They did not support it in full budgets. In fact, when I was doing Girlfriends, I was the head of the studio, like, I don't know how you're making this show or how you're making it, because I know what I'm giving you. And so, yeah, proudly. But I valued, me and other storytellers like myself valued, and that's why you get a Girlfriends, and you get, because they relying on our sweat equity, and they're relying on our thirst for you all just to show up without any marketing dollars. But now, as we quickly expanded, we are in a global game. What I believe the industry, in a very sort of flip way, I've always saw Black stories as cheap programming. We then had to compete with reality programming, and a lot of our images are in there. Now that we're in a global game, our craftsmanship is competing globally. Baby Reindeer, Adolescents. Those budgets are comparable to the budgets we're going to get. We're not going to get them if we do not know how to craft at that level. And I'm telling you right now, we are losing our bench. Some veteran young storytellers can't even get to the set. If you pay attention to why the Writers Guild was striking, we were striking over things. We're getting further and further away from our ability to even craft at that level. Now we have the threat of AI, and guys, it is really good. So where then are our stories going to be? Where are our craftsmen? So that was a long sort of spectrum. My concern is that we have to craft at this level of Forever and other, I'm not the only one, I'm just saying that we have to craft, and we're now competing globally. So where are we going to get our stories? And I want to shout out you guys for showing up, because it is a gamble to wonder if a character-driven drama about what has no trauma, it can be successful. That was exciting. Now that we've proven it, one thing we can always do is really participate with our time and attention. We're now you're going to hear the term, we're in an attention-based economy. And if you won't stay attentive, if you tune out in the middle of an episode, the algorithm says it is a failure. Not that you gotta go pick up your kids. They're telling you it's a failure. They need you to stay. That's the economy. So that's the game that we are having to negotiate in. So and I'm happy to talk to you offline, but really the point blank of it is, I am personally looking for current funding. In fact, it's just talking about maybe having to pause the Writers Colony, because I can regroup, build a board, and get the right funding to do it right. Otherwise, it's just going to be one of those really great ideas with some success that will die, because can't float it. I shouldn't have to. Secondarily, we could talk about other things, but there's a little literal equity raise. I'm in the middle of it right now, about ownership. I think right now we are in the economy, whether it's in Hollywood or not, we need to have assets in order to grow and stay competitive. And so that's my short answer personally. But I would also say, looking for other storytellers you can build with and own our stories. That would be my answer.
Hi, good afternoon. So my comment is more in the appreciation realm than a question. First, I want to say, Girlfriend speaks to my heart in a way that I can't even verbalize. I watch that show to this day, and it has not disappointed me. I mean, I really, really love that work. And the other thing that I want to say is, one of the things I love about what you did with Forever, I grew up on the West Coast, and when I moved to the East Coast in my adulthood, a lot of people couldn't understand how I grew up, and it was difficult to explain the difference between growing up on the West Coast and growing up in New York. And so I love that when you did Forever, you bridged that gap and you brought the East Coast and the West Coast together on the Vineyard, because I think that there's so much beauty in seeing the difference of those two coasts. So thank you. And I also have a gift for you.
Thank you. You brought girlfriends up, and I want to shout out Girlfriend, and I want to thank you for those reflections. Thank you so much. But you guys, Girlfriends is going to be 25 years old. I also want to publicly state thank you, because I get a lot of love all the time about how much you love it. One of the things, and I feel it and hear it, one of my, and you may have heard me say this before, I'll just say it here, is that I want to tell that story too. But what's important to me is that I tell the story and have the resources I have and the marketing support and the distribution support that the film needs. I don't want to scratch and survive that project. That's not interesting to me. So when that value is met, I'm there to tell that story. But I am starting to think, what my team and I are starting to think of what fun celebrations we can have. So please stay tuned. I started an email so I can gather you to see how we can celebrate that. So marabrockakil.net, marabrockakil.net. Pay attention to it. I have a fun quiz up there now if you want to just take a fun storyteller quiz. But really, I'm just gathering us, because I think gathering us in numbers will help me in those rooms to ever have a Girlfriends movie or any other storytelling I could do. But also, I'm looking to celebrate. I've been sort of, I don't want to, constantly pitching, constantly working, constantly having to hear what's not there. I want to celebrate what is, and I want to thank everybody. I hear a lot of people go to bed with Girlfriend all the time, and I just want to take a time to celebrate. So please go to marabrockakil.net. Let me know you're there, and we'll find ways to have fun and celebrate something that we did together. A storyteller needs an audience, needs a listener, and we did that together. And it's on its 4th generation of audience. I got 16-year-olds. I'm cute with the 16-year-old girls. But so I just want to say thank you to that.
All right, well, let's give that one more time. Thank you so much. Please stand. I would like to invite our co-founder, Stephanie Rance, to the stage, our wonderful co-founder. We want to thank her as well.
And Girlfriends reunion, I'm still good.